All right, episode 74 of the Pop Culture Podcast starts right now. Our guest this week is
Krajek?
Crotcheck,
Mark the
yeah,
Movie
very
Man
good.
is our guest this week.
Mark Movie Man.
Krajek.
Yeah. Mark
What's that?
Crotcheck. Yeah,
Excuse you?
Crotcheck.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe say so. No, I'm just kidding. I was trying to pronounce your name. I never could figure it out.
No, that's
You just
okay.
Mark the Movie Man to me. So you boys having a good week? How's everything going for you guys?
Lots of fires I got to put out.
Yeah, well, better than my week is going, I guess.
Why? What happened to you?
Oh my God. Yeah, well, should I tell the story about Plainfield?
Oh, go
We
ahead.
talked it up. We're going to Plainfield.
Oh,
Day, seeing the sights.
and the banana bread.
The banana bread. Yeah, there was some good banana bread.
Ooh, boy.
But half the time I accept food from you, like I don't. If it's a treat, like is it a friendly treat?
Chris gave me a knife sharper than a lightsaber to cut the banana bread with. It went right through the thing. I couldn't even slow the knife down.
What's the purpose of carrying a dull knife? I don't know. But anyway, yeah, we're visiting the grave of Ed Gein, right? Which I guess, and I just learned that that's not far from you. But I was taking pictures of Tom and Molly. I'm going to blame Tom and Molly for this, for my pitfalls.
Oh my
I was
god.
taking pictures of Tom and Molly, and I was, trying to get the right shot. I'm looking through my viewfinder. I don't use the digital screen for anything. I look through the viewfinder and I get my shot. But you get so like focused on what you're doing, you don't pay attention to what's around you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm walking backwards, and I fell over a headstone, and I landed flat on my back. And that's put me in I've seen two different doctors now since then. So that really screwed me up.
I know. I had it all planned out. I had a ring in my pocket. I was going to propose to Molly, and then this joker kicks over a headstone.
It wasn't Ed's though, because Ed's they don't have a headstone for him anymore. So
you can tell it was an expensive camera because he laid out his whole body to protect it.
The important thing.
He took all the pounding he could. It wasn't just a normal trip. He's holding like $10,000 in his hands. And if it just slips a little, it's done forever.
I should post the last picture I took, because I took a picture as I was falling on my ass. Because I was snapping. I play him in sequence. You could see the movie of me falling.
Oh my gosh. Well, it's my fault. I put on so much weight that he had to go fucking take off on a dash 40 yards backwards to frame me properly. So
you had to get the good shots.
You got to get the shot. Did you get the shot though?
No, I didn't.
No, you still didn't get shot. Oh.
Well, I got some good shots. I shouldn't say that.
Oh, he hit hard.
Yeah, I do. I take a pounding.
Talking to Ed Gein, I recently talked to Dan Davies, who did Ed Gein the musical. So
yeah, I've been seeing there's new. Isn't there news for that coming out? Or
it's we were talking about it, and apparently it's gained new life with Ron Bonk's SRS Cinema, I think that is. That it picked up a distributor, and they're going to do a soundtrack and a whole thing.
Wow!
I need
release
to see
of
this.
it, and he did it in 2010, and
so it's been a while.
Yeah, and it's an interesting film. But talking to him about it and what went into it was really interesting. How they shot a chunk of it in Appleton, and and just where it came from and how he put together it was fun to hear that it got new life, because it made the festival circuit for a while, and then he thought it was going to kind of fade, and then they were thinking of bringing it back for the anniversary, and it got picked up for distribution. So,
well, good for them.
Yeah, wow. So it's that's good times. Actually, they're doing a showing at UW Oshkosh the weekend of Twisted Dreams, the third weekend in October. So.
That's our weekend.
You guys, that's your weekend, right?
I was gonna say, I don't know. I don't think that they've ever submitted it to our festival.
No, that's why Chris hired me. I'm a German, and I know how to box out for territory. That is our weekend. I might take Monday and Thursday if you ain't careful.
I'll take it.
But he was a really cool guy. And he, the film itself actually is fairly uh, respectable to the victims. The way he
I don't think it'll
handled it,
play at
so-
any drive-ins in Plainfield, but it
No,
was
no.
not as bad as other things have been.
When I was a kid, I read the book on Ed Gein, and the one that had the trial in it, as well as the crime scene photos in it and everything. I was young, and we were on our trip that my mom and my late mother and I, we used to take when I was a kid. We'd take a week and we'd travel around Wisconsin. We do different campsites because we have a lot of family in central Wisconsin, and we were driving through Plainfield while I was reading the book. And they had the Bean Festival, and you can imagine where that went really quick. I was like, "Oh, look, Bean Fest," and she's like, "Shh, shh, don't talk about it around here. What's wrong with you?"
Chris, I felt like they were lightened up from the stories you were telling me about being in Plainfield. Didn't seem like they cared anymore.
You just got to meet the wrong person.
Yeah.
Or well, it's not really. It's not that. It's just how you approach them.
Sure.
If you're approaching as a tourist.
Yeah. Well, okay. And then we were talking about too how good old Tommy Bartlett, Wisconsin's answer to Barnum and Bailey, wanted that house and wanted to do wax replicas of all the stuff in the house and do a house of horrors. I think he actually bought the house, and he wanted, of course, to be authentic. They were going to actually move the house to the Dells because it's not that far. I mean, he just lifted up, all the country. Mysteriously burned down, and nobody came out to put the fire.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
At least that's how the story goes. Yeah, it's just they didn't get out there too long.
Yeah. Wasn't the top priority.
Yeah, no. If there's a fire, we'll save the basement. Everybody stay in bed.
Imagine one guy's out there with a garden hose. Oh no, it's burning.
Right. Grab some buckets. Yeah, the mysterious fire that they never knew what happened.
Nobody knew.
I mean, the house didn't have electricity. There was no there's no reason. There was no electrical storms. There was no reason for this house to just spontaneous.
And what that person stole from the world is a shame, because I would have loved to see Tommy Bartlett. He could have had it with a dude water skiing over it. They pull out the Ed Gein house, they turn it into a boat.
The guy dressed up as Ed Gein skiing on two bodies, have skis like bodies, and then he'd be standing on the bodies. And
opportunities.
Yeah.
I wonder if the Ed Gein car is still out there, because that was put on the sideshow market for a while. I wonder if that still exists.
And then Mr. Corey Udler for Hole in the Wall, he did Ed Gein DDS, the short film, which was hilarious.
What's your favorite Ed Gein film?
Oh, my favorite Ed Gein film. Oh, I don't know. I mean, well, I could technically say Psycho, but I don't know. I watch them all, and I'm like, the casting is usually off. I'm like, he wasn't that big. Was it the guy?
Kane Hodder? You talking about Kane Hodder? Oh my god!
They did Kane Hodder, and I rented that. And I'm like, the guy
was
like
the little 4'9" and 70 pounds. He was just a small guy, and you're big Kane Hodder.
Like 100 pounds soaking wet, and they had Kane Hodder play him, and I watched that going, yeah, no way. They're just,
oh wow.
I mean, in all honesty, I'm not just saying it, but Dan Davies' portrayal of Ed Gein was fairly accurate. As far as his look and size and everything, for what portrayals we've seen of actual Ed Gein stories on movie, in the movies, his was fairly accurate, as was the one in Ed Gein DDS, even though it was a comedic short film. The portrayal of Ed Gein himself was really well done, but the other ones, it's like Hollywood just didn't get it. You're just like, nah, there's.
Yeah, I like Ed Gein with Steve Railsback as Ed. That was probably one of the better ones.
Mhm. Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, how do you mess that story up though? I mean,
Right.
it's one of those things where it's been so well documented and influenced so much afterwards. Um, but how do you screw that story up? You pretty much have it written for you.
Yeah.
You don't have to embellish it any.
Did you see Deranged with Robert Blossom as Ezra Cobb?
No, I missed that. I have
Oh,
not
you
seen
got
that.
to. Deranged was. It was. So it was made when Gein was still alive, so they had to change like the name and
Oh, sure, sure.
placements and everything. So like the names changed, but the story's the
Mhm.
same. It's the story of Ed Gein, but with
Oh,
Robert
cool.
Blossom.
Yeah, I
As
don't think
Ezra Cobb.
I've caught that one. So,
Oh, it's really good.
but
It
yeah,
was more comedic really than scary.
yeah.
But
Well, you know what's hilarious about Ed Gein is how much he inspired and everything. And I was talking to Davies about it. I'm like, it had to be the time period when this happened. You know, the '50s, the straight conservative '50s, and that why
right.
uh, it influenced so much because he didn't really kill that we know of that many people. He was mostly a ghoul, but it was just for that time. It just sparked everybody's brain because they're like, "Holy crap! There's people out there like that." We're like,
Mhm.
"Yeah, there are." People who
What would
like to wear
Hollywood do
the.
without Ed Gein?
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, Psycho is still one of my all-time favorite horror films.
The original or the
The
remake?
original, don't get me started on the remake. And it's just because
Making sure.
I know some people love the remake, and more power to them. I just couldn't. I
Do you really
tried.
though? You really know people that love it?
Yeah, no, I know some people who really enjoy both. They enjoy both for what they are. Um, I used it back when I was doing Oscar prediction shows earlier in my YouTube, whatever it is, my YouTube channel. I used to do Oscar predictions, and then my penalty for however many I got wrong, I would watch and review bad films for the show, and I usually had bad films picked by fellow critics. So so I had to watch Psycho, the remake, and it took me like 3 days to get through that film.
My mom took me to see it in the theater.
Yeah,
I saw it on opening day in the theater.
yeah, I
Made me
saw
feel
it.
bad.
I saw it. I paid money for it, and
I didn't have to. I didn't have 3 days to get through it.
Yeah. When I originally saw it, I saw it in the theater, and it would make me angry. It's one of the very few films in the world that has made me angry. And then I had to watch it again for reviewing. So I'm like, oh boy, here we go. I got the soundtrack, but the only reason I got the soundtrack is because of the one track of Danny Elfman doing the Psycho theme, the strings, string theme. Because it's Danny Elfman, I'm a big Danny Elfman fan. So
Sure.
that's why I bought the soundtrack. Otherwise, I wouldn't even own anything for it. But I was like, okay,
Mhm.
fine.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And the
Danny
toughest
Elfman.
thing with that remake is, okay, you're doing shot for shot. You took his shot script, and then you tweaked it, to make it a little more sleazy. And then, there's like 3 key scenes that they changed that they didn't. It's like, okay, you're going to do a shot for shot remake. Quit adding your own little flair in these parts, like Norman Bates actually beating off while watching, Mary. The whole point was him not. He was looking, but he couldn't do anything. I'm like, you totally missed the point of that scene. And then, of course, you get to the famous shower scene, and that's where he gets artistic. It's like, that's where you get creative. There, the most famous scene. Throwing in ravens and maggot scenes, and as he gets she gets stabbed, and that was just that's not.
I don't
Speaking
think
of
my
remake-
mom knew how to parent that masturbation scene with like a 10-year-old boy. Like, do I cover? He does that. What do I do?
Do I cover his ears, or do I cover his eyes? He's not really showing anything, but you can tell what he's doing, but you can kind of see. Yeah.
So
Like,
speaking of remakes,
Tom, cover your eyes, and then she covers your ears, and then.
You're like, Mom, let's just go. Is that an option? I'm 10. Can we just leave? Did they lock the doors? I don't know. Do we have to watch this?
It reminds me when my mom walked out of Platoon. That was fun.
Why did you walk out of Platoon?
Well, because I mean, it's the '80s.
Did you have
The
a
one,
name
the one
flashback?
mantra of the '80s is all of us kids growing up in the '80s were we saw these films way too young than we should have been watching these films.
Oh, yeah.
So because our boomer parents took us to whatever movie they wanted to watch, and we're just going to drag the kids along and not pay for a babysitter. So, I got to see Conan the Barbarian in a theater at the where was it? The Fox. Where was that? Whitefish Bay. I forgot
Fox
where it
Bay
was. But
Cinema Grill.
yeah, I think it was Fox Bay. Anyway, we were in there and they were passing a joint in the audience, and everybody was hooping and hollering for the Conan parts. But we went to see. I remember this. We went to see Platoon at Mill Road when it was still around, and we sat and watched it. And they got to the part. She was doing okay until they get to the part where the guys bust into the one hut and they start bashing the one individual's head in. And they don't even show it. They're just beating him, the way they cut it. And then the one guy goes, "Oh, man, did you see his braids? They just cut right, they just spilled out on the floor." That's all he said. And my mom was like, "Okay, we're leaving." And I'm like, there's half the film to go. Why are we leaving? But...
Oh, that's a bummer.
When do you guys you remember the Hills Have Eyes remake? I took my wife to see that in the theater.
Mm-hmm. That was rough.
She hates horror films as it is, but I forced her to go. So what are you gonna do, right?
That's a rough one.
That's
The Hills Have Eyes?
Yeah.
Well, it was a rough one because you remember they get to the scene where the baby gets kidnapped.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I told my wife, I said, I told her ahead of time, like, the baby's gonna be fine. Baby's gonna be fine. There's a scene with a baby. Baby's gonna be fine. And sure enough, the baby gets kidnapped, and that just freaks her out. So she had to get up and leave, and she didn't come back in until the movie ended.
Oh, she got luck. Good choice.
Probably didn't help that she was 9.5 months pregnant, but
oh no, that
dude, your wife is a trooper, Chris.
I was gonna say,
I'm gonna give her a round of applause.
Yes.
She packed meals and just drops the baby as she's walking and drags the umbilical cord to carry all of Chris's stuff. Opens the door for Chris, kicks the kid in.
Kicks the kid. Sounds like a Monty Python skit.
I don't think, that's my life. Thanks. I don't think she's watching. She would have commented if she was watching.
Yeah.
Anyway, we were talking about remakes. I wanted to talk about a remake coming out. I want your opinion on. What do you think about the Munsters trailer?
Sure.
So I want to hear it. Just give me your honest opinion. Don't hold back.
I wasn't that invested in the Munsters. I mean, I enjoyed the Munsters when I watched them. I more watched Addams Family. I did enjoy the Munsters, but it was even a little too campy.
We were a monster house.
Yeah, so Mark was one of those kids.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have hung out with you.
No.
A monster.
I mean, it was one of those where I watched it when it was on, but I didn't seek it out. But for me, I get the characters, and I looking at it, I'm like, wow, okay. And I think I'd probably be even more critical of it if it came out say 8 or 10 years ago. But now with streaming, just in general, quality is even Disney. I mean, the Disney Plus shows. You look at the superhero shows. No, don't get me wrong, or even Obi-Wan, and they, is not polished. The special effects in a lot of ways just don't hit, and so I don't know. I have to see the product before I actually fully criticize something. If I don't watch it, I mean, I can have some opinions on the trailer. It does look like it has low budget all over it. But it depends on the way the script and the story plays out on if it acknowledges its low budget, because I think they could do something interesting with it, like they did with the Brady Bunch movie, which during the 90s, that was probably one of the best TV to movie films to come out, was the Brady Bunch movie, because they took the ridiculousness of the Brady Bunch family and they put them in the modern times, but they were still all the same characters, and that worked very well for comedic timing. So I'm not sure how the Munsters is going to play. They also got Wednesday coming out.
Didn't they have, hold on, about the Munsters?
Yeah.
They gave them like $80 million to make it. What if he only spent like $2 million to make it and just pocketed the rest?
Use that for a next film that he's going to make.
Yeah.
Taking the Tim Burton route, right? What he always said, he did the big commercial IPs so he could then do an indie film. Take that money, turn around and make an indie film. And one of my favorite films of his is Big Fish, but they did an interview with him because they asked, why do you do Alice in Wonderland and these big commercial projects? And he's like, well, that gets me money so I can make movies I want to make.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Maybe it's that route. Maybe, Rob Zombie's pocketing the other money, What gets me with Rob Zombie, I was wondering your guys' opinion is, everybody gives him crap for always casting his wife in films. And it doesn't bug me. I guess
I have an opinion on that, yeah.
I got an opinion. He has trust issues with his wife and has to keep her around him at all times. So when he works, she works. Boom. I just think, yep, you got trust issues. I got your number, dude. We all catch on. Work on that, Rob.
I'm not a fan of her acting. I don't think she can act very well. She doesn't have much personality, so.
It's Hollywood though, and it's
right.
not the so it's like people give I'm like, well, if you're gonna give Rob crap for that, then you got to start evaluating some of these other casting choices that you get, that people get chosen for, that you're just like, why did that person get picked? And then you learn, oh, they were either dating them or what, whatever, and they happened to get the role. It's just like, so for me, I guess it doesn't really matter. I mean, she's all right.
No, she's not. She's terrible.
She's surrounded by some good talent. Sid Haig, may he rest in peace. We were just talking about him last night.
If I got one turd with corn in it, the other turds around it aren't gonna all be the same quality.
I guess, yeah. But I mean, I guess for me, on the whole, it never really bugged me that she was cast, because Rob Zombie films are Rob Zombie films. They have a look. They have his scripts are his. Good or bad, they're his. You could tell. And I was not a big fan of Halloween 2, and I know many people who love Halloween 2. So.
Yeah, they took my money in the theater on that one.
The bane of the horror fan. We go, even if we're like, it's a horror movie in a big screen. Okay, I'm gonna go see it. This is gonna probably suck, but I'm gonna go see. Here's my money.
I have to.
Saw Texas Chainsaw in the theater, so I can't talk. So.
Oh, the remake a while back.
No, the Texas Chainsaw 3D. Do your thing, cuz. Sorry, I'm just babbling now.
That's all right. That's why we have you on.
But
Tom had a whole bunch of questions ready for you. I don't know if Tom has. Want to ask any of your questions?
No, I didn't study him. I studied the dude who teaches. Okay, Mark Krachek, I was a little confused on your website. You said you're teaching philosophy. Now,
Tom was so excited to have that guy on.
Does that mean you're a philosophy teacher, or it's like you're a teacher in general and you have a philosophy on teaching?
Well, it all depends on a matter of perspective from where you come from. You see, you can look at it both ways, to where, you elevate your teaching through philosophy, having a specific philosophy, or you can teach philosophy, but can we really teach philosophy? Philosophy is a more inner journey, and all I could do is teach you how to take that journey. Whether or not you take it in the right or wrong direction is up to you, because, it's philosophy. So
this is going to work out good. So working with a lot of kids there doing plays and acting. How rewarding is that, man?
I told Tom that it's Mark.
This guy is so awesome. We're gonna call him Silver Mark, the movie man. Silver medal Mark. I love this guy we're not interviewing.
I told Tom that it was the Mark K that's getting the Backbone Award, and so Tom Googles and thinks that this guy is. It's like, man, this guy really does deserve an award.
He's working with kids on stage. He's teaching philosophy. Wow.
What the fuck doesn't he do?
Yeah, I should have just let it go. I should have been like,
You
yeah,
should've
that's him.
did it.
That's who's gonna be on tonight.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Well, let's
And
let's
then
talk
he's a
about theater.
theater. You know, I was going to ask him if it was hard switching back and forth from big theater acting to film acting. It's,
Well, it is because of the scheduling that you have. You know, when you do
Yeah.
big theater acting, it's live in front of a live audience. So you got to think on your feet more. And sometimes you have to improv. There's no edits, there's no retakes when you're on the live stage. Whereas with switching to film acting, you have a little bit more leeway to where if you mess something up, you can always reshoot, usually depending on the schedule. And that way too, you know, you could stick to your script and you less pressure than when you're on stage in front of a live audience. You can't, you know, you can't take it back if you mix up one line in Shakespeare. So, you know, the pressure is definitely different between stage acting and movie acting. So,
all right, this is coming from your OnlyFans page.
if you want to see my feet, that's extra, okay? It's I don't show them for free. All right.
I know. Smart. It's wise.
Yeah, it's great.
Why you wear socks? With sandals.
Only in the summer, though.
Mhm.
Socks
At
with
the
sandals only
beach.
in the summer.
At the beach. The sandals with socks in the summer at the beach. That's what. Also
Gotcha.
with the sunblock that you can actually see on my nose with the, you know.
Oh yeah, I know. I've seen the pictures.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about what you do. Give us
Oh,
the
okay.
rundown what you do online.
Sure. Well, I doing the YouTube for like 16 years. Just because I'm either
It's a long
glutton for
time.
glutton for punishment, or I love making content. So, you know, that was back when YouTube was filled with people laughing at the mall when there were malls, because there were malls back then when YouTube started.
Mhm.
And you know, there were a lot of those videos, and so I tried a few different things. You know, I posted a couple of videos I made from class projects I made in college, like my Prince of the Universe video and that, and it was very not consistent. And so for like the first year, I barely posted anything because I had my kids and they were very young, and I was focused more on helping raising them in that. So I just, you know, where little time I could to get making content. And I did the web series, Star Wars web series called Lonely Trooper, based off of, if anyone knows the history of YouTube, there was a Lonely Girl 15. She was doing a vlog, and she got a huge following instantly because she used to play really recent music, and it seemed like very good lighting and everything. And then the curtain was pulled back when someone found her acting in a Canadian show. And then it turned out that she was an actress, and her whole vlog series was scripted by these guys. And then after that came out, you know, it was all cult. There was involved a cult. It got really wild. But that's where I did a web series for a while, which was basically my 1977 Stormtrooper character named TK422, and he was trying to make his way through the Empire and get promoted, and it was always failing. And then I started doing my YouTube review show more. I brought it from when I did it on student television here in UWSP, called it The Final Cut. That's what it was called on there. And I started doing that. And then I met some people who did podcasting, fell in love with doing podcasting, started my own podcast about 9 years ago. You know, got the website and started posting stuff there, reaching out to people, doing stuff for WeLiveEntertainment.com. I don't do as much for them now, but I used to do, when they had a video channel, I used to do Horror Thursdays and Terror Tuesdays there. Yeah, and written reviews occasionally, and recently started doing TikToks. But independent films, I started covering 12 years ago, 10 years ago, no, 11 years ago at the Oshkosh Horror Film Fest run by John Pata at the time. My good friend Glenn Bittner, who makes short films, he used to make short films as well, made a few of them. He said those fateful words of, "Hey, did you know there was a film fest, a horror film fest in Oshkosh?" And I'm like, "Why, no, there wasn't. I didn't." So I took my camera up there because I'm like, I might be able to interview some actual filmmakers and looking to step up my game on my YouTube channel. And sure enough, I interviewed a bunch of people, met a bunch of great filmmakers, some of them who've become friends. And yeah. Oh, get that off the screen.
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Give it to
Everyone,
me.
it's me, Mark the Movie Man, and first up on our chopping block today is Harry Potter.
How was puberty, by the way?
Zing, boom.
Yeah.
Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. Yes,
Oh,
the
no.
entire cast is back once again. Link to the side for the cast and the plot. We're giving you the brass tacks. So here it is. This movie was very good.
There you go.
Stop.
Harry Potter and the
Thank you.
Half-Blood
I love
Prince.
it.
Very good.
Yeah, it was very good. Yeah.
Was it better than the book?
Well, no, the book of course had more, but
Yeah.
I think the film that got, I think the story that got most shortchanged and obvious because it was like just like 1,000 pages or something was Prisoner of Azkaban, but you would have had to make that. It's funny if they would have made that series now. Prisoner of Azkaban would have been 2 parts. They would have really milked that film series out quite a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was me. So at first my show was longer, and then I cut it down just because the way YouTube was, and it got more views if I did shorter movies. But yeah, I started interviewing the indie filmmakers and that, and some became friends, and I fell in love with the indie film cinema. When I started doing that, actually, late Andrew Kopp. Unfortunately, he left us too soon. A very interesting filmmaker. I didn't get to know him personally, but I met some filmmakers who really knew him. But I had reviewed his film was one of the first films I ever reviewed on YouTube. It was for The Mutilation Man. I've got the VHS. I've got this was the DVD I bought from Big Lots for $1. This is different than the other Mutilation Man that came out recently, like 8 years ago or whatever. So I bought this at Big Lots for $1. I'm like, okay. And then I rented it. I reviewed it. And I fully came out and said, I don't get this film. I don't understand it. But, there's talent here, I said, but it's not for me. I don't get it, but it's not intended for me. And I was a little harsh on it because I was earlier in my reviewing career and was going to be like, oh, be big critic or whatever. Anyway, 1.5 years later, he emails me and he goes, hey, can I feature your review on the limited VHS copy? And I thought about it for myself for a minute. And I'm like, I kind of panned your film. And he goes, yeah, no, I know it is, but it's reality. And I want to put it on the tape. And I'm like, okay, but it gave me a little window into indie filmmakers. And as I reviewed more indie films, I got feedback from more indie filmmakers and learned behind the scenes stuff. And it just grew from there, really. And then I learned about, with the Oshkosh Horror Fest, learned about the large indie film community in Wisconsin. And then, like I said, it just grew from there. Just from the small fest, so many things came out of John Pata's Oshkosh Horror Fest. Which he did for about 4 years. But that first one, so much came out of that. It was crazy, And people focus on the big film fest, but I'm like, it's impressive what can come out of the smaller ones, Friendships, film collaborations, and all of that. And so I've been covering it then. I cover more indie films, really, than big screen films,
Yeah. We saw a press release said something about you're going to be at Twisted Dreams.
That's what I read too, which I'm still trying to wrap my head around.
Why is he going to be there, Tom?
I think he's getting an award, the Backbone of Wisconsin Horror Award this year. Woo!
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, wait, is this set in stone, Chris? Like, are we locking it in? If something happens to him, we still give it posthumously if he dies before
I
October?
never thought about that. Mark, what would you, if you die between now and
Do you want it to
October
go
15th?
next man up?
I'd like to go to the
Do you
next
want it, or
person
do you want
and-
us to give it to the next person?
I would want you to give it to the next person.
Okay.
Because I'm still wrapping my head around that I got chosen for. I appreciate it. I'm very humbled and honored. I've been doing this for a long time, and I'm kind of I just do content, and I don't really look back at what I've done. I'm just making new stuff. I can't really look back because, one, we're our own worst critics, but I just never sit down or take a moment to actually think about what I have done so far and how many years it is, and how many people I've gotten to know. So to get this award is a huge thing for me.
I hope I'm going to see it on the shelf behind you there.
Yeah.
I'll have to make some room. I'll make some room for you.
I hope you're not creeped out easily, because we are the only film festival in the world that uses genuine human bones in our trophies.
See, and that just excites me. And you can tell I'm from
Mhm.
Wisconsin and only a half hour from Plainfield, because that really
Mhm.
excites me. I mentioned it to one of my friends
know what we do.
I mentioned that this horror fest makes trophies out of real bones, and they were like, "That is so cool."
Yeah. You know what we
Now,
do, Chris?
I hope the artist can make it for you. I haven't really touched base with him on it yet.
Well,
I should probably
whatever
get
it
that
is,
going.
even if it's just a piece of paper or a hearty handshake and a slap in the face, that's fine.
No, we give butt slaps in this family.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Do
Slap
I have to take
monsters.
Do I have to take my pants down for the butt slap?
Dealer's
or-
choice.
Dealer's choice.
Depends on if I got a shave or not. That's why I got to
Yeah.
ask. So
You see, I was saying if you don't make it, we'll give the award to the next one up, but then we'll make the award out of your backbone next year.
oh, there you go.
I think that
I
I think that you should be an organ donor and donate your
I
spine
would-
to us.
Yeah.
I would be all for that. I would be all
Okay.
for that.
God,
This
that
is
should be a
recorded.
requirement for every backbone winner every year.
Yeah, that sets a
just sign
pace
it
for everybody who dies in the future in this small window of time.
If you die
Bones
before
aren't cheap.
receiving the award, we'll make the award out of your bones. Yeah.
Human
Yeah,
bones
we
aren't cheap. I got to get them
No.
willed to me or something.
Yeah. Well, my wife will probably be fine.
Why do you think we went to Plainfield where there's no cameras around and people? I know of a few good success stories of people getting bones. It's not all picked over either. You can just get backbones there.
No, those things are not cheap.
no. I
Although one year we didn't have a backbone, we had a rib bone. I bought. You ever see the show Obscura on cable?
Mm-mm.
I've
there's-
heard of it.
there's an oddities
but-
dealer named Mike Zahn, and I
Yeah.
bought a vertebrae from him, and he sent me a rib bone, and I'm like, dude, you sent me the wrong bone. So he gave me a refund, and I got to keep the bone. So we made our trophy award out of rib bones.
Nice.
So it wasn't really the backbone.
It's good to be authentic. I like that. The extra little flair and identity. So, and what are the bones going to do? They're just going to sit there otherwise, right? So,
I don't know, they could be cursed or shit. Something I don't
well,
know.
they could, but that just adds another level to the award. You bring
I'd be
something
heartbroken. I'd be
extra home.
heartbroken if somebody got a curse because of me.
Oh, well, it depends on the curse.
You know, they
There's
might
very
have
good.
negative energy backbones because nobody
yeah.
dies with a good back.
No.
Everybody hates
any
their back,
bone-
man. That is just they've been cursing it all their life, putting curses on them fucking spine.
Any bone any bone that's cursed, it's going to be a vertebrae.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the one.
Well, yeah, you would.
Probably
Yeah.
a T12.
That's fine, even if it is cursed. We live across the street from a graveyard, so.
Man, some
Which was-
people have all the luck.
Yeah, which was interesting because the folks who made Night of the Living Bread shot some of it
Oh, yeah?
here. And my house is actually in the background of one of the shots because they shot at the cemetery across the street. So they ran past it. I'm like, hey, I recognize that house.
Okay, Mark, don't get a big head about it now.
Yeah, well, I'm like, wow. But that's a fun movie, Night of the Living Bread.
I've never
that
seen it.
was very interesting. Yeah, I mean, micro budget Wisconsin horror, but they were having a lot of fun making it.
Was it just
Oh,
about loaves of bread eating people?
yeah, it was living loaves of bread attacking folks who were gluten free.
Oh,
So
oh
uh,
you
yeah,
could never release that today. That would trigger people.
it would probably would trigger people. Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. They do some special effects and such in there as well, but some really good gimmicks. But you can tell they had a lot of fun making it too. So,
For sure.
uh,
Yeah. Well, what are some good films that you saw recently? What do you recommend people see?
oh, what I saw recently. Well, I mean, as far as indie films go, there's one that got released recently, Witch House, uh, H.P. Lovecraft's Witch House, which was a lot of fun. That recently got out on VOD, and I love Psychopomp. That's been making the festival circuit for a while, but I just saw that he got announced that he hit distribution,
Hmm.
so that's going to be a lot of fun. What else have I been watching? I watched a indie film called Three Demons, which was a bit of a surreal film. And then they're doing a re-release of a 1986 film, which I highly recommend. If you like Ozploitation films or exploitation films, you should check out a film called Fair Game. It's from 1986. It's from Australia, and it's about a woman who runs a animal sanctuary, and it's her going against poachers. And there's some back and forth. They do some really nasty things to her, but it's just, I mean, it's pure mid 80s exploitation with the poachers right around in this vehicle that looks like a reject from Mad Max. It's great. It's
I think that's just how cars are in
Yeah,
Australia.
I
That's
think so too.
what I
I
thought.
really, I think so too. Well, the truck even growled. It growled occasionally. Whenever you saw it, it wouldn't just, it wouldn't rev. It actually growled.
Cars
And
sound that
yeah,
big.
there's just some wild stuff in it. So, but yeah, those are ones that are getting VOD release or out already that I would say are a lot of they're enjoyable for sure.
Did you
Um,
see the Black Phone?
Black Phone? Yeah, I enjoyed the Black Phone. I wasn't as floored as a lot of people, but maybe because I've seen a lot of a lot of horror and especially kind of that story. But I still enjoyed it. I thought the story was really interesting. Had a little bit of a Stephen King vibe to it. For it, the vibe. I kind of like the twist at the end, but it's also one of those where you don't think too hard because some questions start coming into play. Like his motivation for taking the kid. It was and the big twist with it. I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it, but Ethan Hawke was fantastic in it, though. I thought he was the best part of Moon Knight, and then have him in this film. He was really good in Black Phone. I liked the Black Phone quite a bit.
Yeah. Fuck, I love that movie.
It's
I love that movie. Like that is
it's a
such a good movie.
solid.
Tom, did you see the Black Phone?
Nope, I have not.
Oh, you gotta watch it.
Oh,
All right.
it was a
After
solid
all the
film.
Twisted Dreams films are watched, of course.
Yeah, trying to
All
get those
87,
done.
87
You know,
left, 84 left. No, I really like the Black Phone. Like that movie was
yeah.
legit scary when I saw it. Like it
Mhm.
really like hit a nerve with me because that was the thing when I was a kid. Kids were getting kidnapped in Milwaukee left and right.
Right.
So
Yeah, I remember that going on.
yeah, it was always
And
something that we were concerned about.
yeah, but and I think that's part of the fear too is that it hit home. I wasn't expecting a bit of more of the what they do with the sister character. That was a fun surprise. What they did with her.
Yeah,
Um,
the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree with Joe Hill, Stephen King's son. He wrote the
yeah,
book.
yeah. Well, and that's what I mean is that it's just it's very Stephen King esque,
Yep.
which isn't a bad thing, but you can
Right.
definitely feel it's got that vibe, and that's what I like about it because I like King's stuff normally. Um, what was
How
what
would you
was
feel if your dad was Stephen King? Would you want to read his books, or would you be like, "Damn it, I don't want to read your books anymore, Dad"?
Well, it depends on which book. I mean, are
Right.
you reading the the Running Man, which he wrote under a different name, or are you reading
I might
the,
want to get my hands on everything because he'll be like, "You're too young to read that," and then I
and then
want
you'll be
it
just
now. Now I'm reading it under my bed.
like,
No, Joe Hill is such a spitting image of his dad. He looks like his dad, talks like his dad. It's weird.
Oh,
I think he's actually a clone,
he probably is. It's Stephen King, so who knows? I mean,
right?
And what he cranks out is just crazy for a writer. It's like, he made one of my all-time favorite horror films, Maximum Overdrive. I love Maximum Overdrive. I love that film. I know a lot of
I
people.
don't know if you could really count Stephen King as making that because he was so coked out of his mind.
Okay, well,
Don't know who it was making that.
as
He doesn't even
Andrew-
remember making the movie. It's like, I guess I made it. I don't remember.
That's what I love about it, though. I mean, I love the backstory. I love, it's Stephen King doing a B horror film.
Did you see that trailer with Stephen King from back in the day? That's like that.
Oh,
that
yeah,
was more
he's
that was
so
scarier
coked.
than the actual movie.
He's so coked out of his mind. I mean, but the '80s, the cocaine should have got its own Academy Award, as Mr. Andrew Shearer would say. He's like, because it was a star of so many films. And but I still love Maximum Overdrive, warts and all. I have fun with that movie so much because you're right. He doesn't remember making it, but it's still got those King elements in it and those King characters, even if it's just totally.
He was on
film.
autopilot.
Yeah, autopilot basically, but it still had his bits and his signatures in there with the cast of characters you have, the blue collar characters and the odd.
Here we go.
Oh, there we go. Now we're talking. I've got it on VHS. That's how I watch it. But
Watch this, Tom.
Watch him.
I've written several motion pictures, but I want to tell you about a movie called Maximum Overdrive,
He's
which is the first one.
His eyes
high.
glassed over.
It's
He's
Willem
so high right
Dafoe, it
now.
looks like.
He's so high in that trailer.
A lot of people have directed
People tell me I look like Eric Clapton. Tell me I look like Eric Clapton.
He does. And then he smiles. It's far better than Trucks, the film they made later on. It's supposed to be more accurate to the shit. He's
I
just
sort of
so.
enjoyed it.
He shouldn't smile because then he starts looking really psycho. When he smiles.
I just wanted
Ah.
something
Whoa.
right.
Yeah. He's.
So come and spend some time with me and my friends at the Dixie Boy.
The Dixie Boy.
The Dixie Boy. Dixie Boy gas station. There's so many faces in that film,
Scare the
too.
hell out of you. And that's a promise.
You're going to get us in an awful lot of trouble, man.
We already in trouble.
Maximum terror.
Jesus coming in. He is.
He's pissed.
Maximum king.
What the fuck is that? That's the bad guy?
Yeah, the bad guy is not Green Goblin. The bad guy is not Green Goblin face on the front of a toy truck. Have you not seen Maximum Overdrive?
No.
Oh, well, I made
Why
up
would
for
I
it.
seek this out?
Why wouldn't you? The AC/DC Greatest Hits soundtrack alone is worth it.
God.
I got it on vinyl. They did a remaster re-release of the AC/DC soundtrack to that film, and it's wonderful. They only recorded 2 or 3 new original tracks for the movie, but the rest were all like tracks from their library that they added to it.
Yeah, you
And-
wonder why you're getting the backbone of horror. You're telling us about Maximum Overdrive soundtrack on vinyl.
Well, yeah, I mean, I had to. AC/DC who made who? It put some of their
In case
tracks.
anybody wasn't bored. Let's continue.
Sorry, I'm
Love
putting you
it.
to sleep. I'm
No,
a
it's
big
perfect.
soundtrack geek too, so my apologies.
All right. Crank up the hornophone, man. Watch it.
Well, that's why I got the
Watch it on the
stylus.
Betamax.
I got the. I've got the. My beta machine broke. Otherwise, I've got Night of the Comet on.
Where do
beta,
you just
but-
you had to get rid of all your porn then?
Yeah,
Beta
yeah,
machine
well,
broke.
no, yeah, the machine
Porn's
broke.
useless.
That's okay. You can't keep those 80s.
You can sneak that porn into the museum and find one of them. Get
It
into the
belongs in a
Smithsonian so
museum.
you can jack off. You gotta break.
Great. Now I'm just picturing. I'm just picturing.
Porn.
I'm just picturing Indiana Jones with Debbie's Does Dallas in his hand, going, "It belongs in a museum."
Yeah, man. Oh,
Oh, wow.
loving that.
It's probably collector's items now.
It probably, yeah. So didn't mean to bore you. Sorry. No, I love films. So and some of
That's
these films
awesome.
have great stories behind them.
No,
So
that means you love horror.
I do. I mean, I love a lot of the genre films. Dramas are okay. You know, comedies are really hit or miss because they're. I came from the 80s when there were a lot of great comedies, and there aren't quite so many nowadays, at least, the mainstream stuff. 80s was kind of a golden age for comedy too, and stand-up. And I've got a whole bunch on, VHS of stand-up routines that my dad recorded off at HBO because they did their like one-night stands where they had featured comics. I've got Andrew Dice Clay's first TV appearance, I think, on a Rodney Dangerfield comedy special. On VHS as well. But comedies they're more hit or miss, but I really like sci-fi, fantasy, horror. I like those.
Young kids would get nostalgic about a VCR and like think it's cool and start using them.
That's what's
happened to
hilarious.
That's what happened to vinyl.
Yeah. Well, actually VCRs did start making a comeback a bit because I was looking for another one a while back. This was a number of years ago, but the price went up. I'm like, why is the price so high on freaking VHS?
There was one company in Japan that was still making VHSs, and it was just a year ago, maybe last year even, that they officially stopped making VHSs in Japan.
Wow.
That's a dark day, man.
It was a good run, though.
That is.
I never thought I'd see the day.
Yeah, I ended up getting like 6 boxes of VHS, equaling about 380 tapes from University Surplus here for $6. So
how much your home porn was on there?
not surprisingly,
Not nearly enough for
not nearly
6
enough.
months.
Not nearly enough. No, a number of them were from Hollywood Video, which had gone defunct. So there's about a third of them were Hollywood Video sleeves. But I've got a great makeshift Cobra one they did. That's a Hollywood Video sleeve, but someone had cut the Cobra logo off of like an ad, and they taped it to the sleeve.
Nice.
For Sly Stallone's Cobra. But I got a lot of them too that are in their original sleeves, and it's just a wild variety of stuff. I got a tape. I got 2 Freddy's Nightmares out of it though. So the first 2 episodes of Freddy's Nightmares on VHS, I got those. And yeah, I like collecting retro media. I have tapes and laser discs as well. So.
Yeah.
Laser discs are interesting because even though the quality isn't that great, the audio is fantastic. My Jurassic Park laser disc was done in DTS, and it sounds like it's done in I mean, it's freaking sounds awesome. Of course, you got to flip the disc, but hey, a few times.
Yeah. Now I just use them to cook a pizza.
But yeah, I mean, I like B horror. I like genre films because I always like see what they do with the stories. I mean, you do get a lot of not so good films, but then occasionally you just get those ones that either hit a chord with you or are actually really good. There's Sword and the Sorcerer. Have you guys seen Sword and the Sorcerer? 3-bladed sword. Chris knows what I'm talking about. Every D&D DM suddenly had to come up with rules for a 3-bladed sword because they had a 3-bladed sword there. Best scene in that though is a guy. The main hero is crucified, above a diner table of the bad guy, and at one point he grabs the stud in his hand and he actually pulls himself off of the, it's wild. But yeah, sorry.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was one of the first movies that really started that satanic panic with the Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like I had a friend that wasn't allowed to see it. Wasn't allowed to watch
Really?
that. Couldn't watch the Saturday morning Dungeons and Dragons cartoon. Like he couldn't watch any of it
man.
because his mom was so like freaking out over that. My mom's like, "Fuck, I don't care. Watch what you want."
Mhm.
See, I had that too. My best friend of 30 plus years, we met in 7th grade. When we first were hanging out, my parents were the ones that, well, you could watch just pretty much anything. I could watch, Aliens and stuff. And his parents were strict, no rated R films. So he came over one day and he, hey, you want to watch this film? He's like, sure. He wasn't too familiar with it. He's like, oh my God. He's like, my mom can't. My mom doesn't want me to watch this.
Yeah, I've been
Like,
through that with my friends too. Were our parents just neglectful, or were they just awesome? I don't know. Because my mom,
Lazy.
my mom, she loved horror. She absolutely loved horror, and she didn't have anybody to go with her, so she took me.
well,
I was
yeah.
10. The first like real horror movie I saw.
It
in the
wasn't
theater.
anybody to go with her. It was anybody to watch you, right?
There's nobody. Well, yeah, probably nobody to watch.
Probably
But yeah, we
same
saw
thing.
Creep
Yeah.
Show. Creep Show was the first movie I saw in the
Oh,
theater. in
nice.
1982. I was 10, and man, I was hooked on horror.
Oh,
And it actually took me to everything. Like I saw fucking what is it? Burial Ground. You know what I'm talking about? Burial Ground.
Yeah.
And I saw that sitting right next to my mom, and that had a lot of nudity. You guys were talking about nudity and kids, and like should I watch? And what's that guy's name? Peter or something. The midget. Do you know who I'm talking about? That plays the kid.
Yeah. Peter. Yeah, I know you're talking
Oh,
about.
that guy freaked the fuck out of me. I had nightmares about that dude. There was a little person that played a kid, and there was like the breast suckling scene that fucking
Yep.
gave me nightmares. Like I
Yeah.
couldn't sleep for a week.
Actually, if you don't mind me mentioning it on our podcast just this week, we wrapped up our Killer Concert Month, and we just talked about Hard Rock Zombies, which, if you're not familiar with, you should check it out because it's definitely some micro-budget indie horror, rock and roll horror, that features a surprise villain in it.
Okay.
And it's got a mutant, it's got a little person, it's got zombies, it's got hair rock, it's got it's got it all. I'm not saying necessarily it was a great film. It's an entertaining film, which there's always a difference. I think people miss that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Especially in criticism. You get, it's like, yeah, the film may have not been made that well or aesthetically, but I had a lot of fun with it, Nice.
Fucking nightmares.
It is nightmares. That's hilarious.
I can't anymore. I'm not gonna sleep tonight.
No. Well, my friend Dawn, she gets a kick out of the fact that when Dr. Sleep came out then there was also the anniversary of The Shining. And I said, I'll go, but I warn you, it's one of the only horror films that actually disturbs me. And I've watched a lot of disturbing horror, but that film, for whatever reason, actually makes me feel at least uncomfortable now. I don't get quite as scared as I used to, but it still makes me feel uncomfortable. The whole red rum, the kids, the way when he says red rum, freaking freaky. Still today, it freaks me out. Maybe because I was too young to see it when it first came out, and so it fried itself into my brain. But that scene where he starts going red rum, it just it gives me the heebie-jeebies.
You gotta do that to a kid. Every kid you show them a horror movie too early, they become horror fans for life.
Yeah.
So just do it.
I guess technically the first horror movie I saw was Dracula, 1979.
Mhm.
The one with what's his name? George Hamilton. No, not George Hamilton.
No.
That's Love at First Bite. The fuck is his name? Come on. I don't know. It was Dracula in 1977. Saw that at the drive-in. And I only remember the end where he burns up in the sunlight.
Was it a Hammer horror? With the Hammer horror Dracula?
No,
Oh,
his name. I can't think of his name. But anyway,
yeah, I forgot offhand too. There's been so many Dracula films. So,
I gotta look it up now. What was the Dracula in 1977 or 79?
yeah, those 70s horror films were always interesting. What always got me with the 70s horror films is the music never always matched the type of film it was. So, like, you'd watch the opening, and it was going to be for some, somebody getting their head ripped off or something. And there's like this airy 70s theme for the opening music. And that was always caught me off guard how they tried to just put different music that just didn't fit for the horror film that you normally equate with a horror film.
It's Frank Langella. Why couldn't I think of that?
Oh, there you go.
When I was younger, Jackson had street lamps that cast a shadow that looked just like Freddy Krueger's fedora. So if you ever had to come home at night, it was just you constant reminder of Freddy Krueger walking home.
That's
Crap.
awesome. Oh, ye old Freddy Krueger. Yeah, and you look back. It's funny when I look back at the first original Nightmare on Elm Street. I remembered it looking a bit more higher budget than it was. Because when I watched it as a kid, you didn't really think about it. And then going back, I revisited it. And I'm like, wow, this was actually some lower budget. Because everybody remembers later on when you get to Dream Warriors, Dream Master, and that where they get the bigger budget in the Dream trilogy. But that first movie, you look at it, you go, outside of Johnny Depp's blood scene, you're like, this kind of is lower budget. Doesn't make it bad, but a lot of people I think don't get that equation either.
Yeah.
No. All right. Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap things up. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
If you want to meet Mark in person, you can do that October 15th.
Yes, I will be there. So
You'll be there,
that's
yeah. If
my
he
anniversary
survives.
weekend. That's my anniversary weekend. So
Stay tuned. 'cause
We can't promise he'll be there, but that's the plan.
that's my plan right now. Should I die, a piece of me may be there. Okay. So
And then he'll be in next year's award.
Tom, make sure you would get some legal contracts written up for that, please.
Yeah, verbal. Yeah, this is good. I'll get it. If not, I'll get it. I'll get it.
if that,
I'll get it. I'll get that backbone.